Hey everybody, this is Chuck Marone with Strong Towns. Walking home from the office, thought I would stop a second and chat with you all. There was an article I read today. It was in Fast Company, which is a publication I've seen before. I really don't know anything about them. Someone sent me this article. I found it kind of like a absurd headline, and then the article was a little silly too. The headline, I wrote it down just so we get it right. A silent culprit behind the housing market shortage of entry-level homes. I like this idea of the silent culprit, right? Gives like mystery to the whole thing. What's the silent culprit behind the lack of entry-level homes? Well, that silent culprit, according to Fast Company, is economies of scale. When you when you buy bulk, you get economies of scale. So if you go out and you build, 2,000 rolls of toilet paper instead of 200 rolls of toilet paper, you can build a bigger plant, more efficient, scale it up, and so you can produce on a per unit basis toilet paper a lot cheaper. If you can do 2 million rolls of toilet paper, your economies of scale grows even more, and you can do it even cheaper. When it comes to government, local government, the economies of scale argument is probably the biggest waste of capital that I see, right? Like, if we could just do, if we're going to build, 200 feet of pipe, let's go ahead and build 2,000 feet of pipe because economies of scale, it'll be cheaper per foot. We've done a lot of really dumb things in our economy under the theory of economies of scale. But let's look at this, because the Fast Company article has this chart that shows housing prices going up as per square foot as square footage goes down. So if you're building, and they stop at 1,200 square feet, by the way, which is in historic standards still a very, very large home, but they stop at 1,200 square feet and they say, hey, this is the highest cost. If you built something over 5,000 square feet, the cost per square foot is much lower. Here's why this makes no sense. First of all, there is, let's acknowledge a little bit that there is an economy of scale. Like, it is a real thing, right? If I'm going to go out and mobilize to a site, for example, it is the same, in a sense, mobilization cost if I'm building a 1,000 square foot home or if I'm building a 3,000 square foot home. Maybe it's slightly different for the 3,000 square foot home, but not appreciably much, right? Some of the things like, showing up for work, bringing out certain equipment, all of this, there is an economy of scale to doing something bigger, right? Like, I get that. Yet that is not the thing that's driving up home prices. If you look at the smaller units, and of course this was all recent data, I went through and looked at this. If you look at the smaller units, what you're looking at is like these small units in this study are all, in a sense, condo units in big cities. If you're building 1,000 square foot condo unit, 1,200 square foot condo unit, say in Minneapolis, where I looked at the data, yeah, on a per square foot basis, these things are really, really expensive, right? I mean, that's kind of like one of the premium places that they're making their money off of. They can cram those units in. They can make a lot of money per square foot. It's like a really good investment for a developer. It's the same thing as if you're looking at a mall, right? Mall developers will say, well, we don't make a lot of money on the anchor stores. The anchor store square foot is really low, but the square foot where we make the most money in a mall are those little vendors that you see in the middle of the hallway, right? The person selling sunglasses or, the cases for your cell phone, those things. That was kind of annoying. Like, what are they doing there? For square foot, they're paying a premium price to be there. That's kind of like where you make a little bit extra on the top, right? I mean, that's the real good return. What you're looking at here is a system where developers make a lot of money on those high-end units, and that's what's showing up in the data. Let's be clear. The silent culprit, I had to look at my notes again, what they call this. The silent culprit of why we're not getting these kind of homes is not because they cost so much per square foot. The reason is that there's no financing to build really cheap units. You can build a 1,200 square foot condo unit. There's financing for that. There's a way to go do it. If you want to build a 600 square foot home at low price, which you can do, is actually relatively easy to do. Good luck getting that financed. Good luck getting a mortgage on it. Good luck getting it rolled over on the secondary market. There's no standardized products for these things. You can finance it locally. No, right? So who's going to do this? There's no market for it. There's no financial market for it. There's tons of market demand for it. There's tons of people who would love to live in such a home. There's tons of people who would like to pay to live in such a home. There's tons of people who would like to have a starter home, a 600, 700, 800 square foot home that they could add on to over time, adapt, and really do the kind of things that we historically see people doing with homes. But you can't do that with a 1,000-foot condo unit. That's not what it's designed for. 1,000-foot condo unit is designed to be a static unit, right? The same way we build static units for single-family homes at larger prices. If you're doing that, and that's the only thing you're doing, it's going to be higher per square foot. But if you're actually out building starter homes, if you're actually out building, backyard accessory cottages, if you're actually taking existing structures and turning their sped bedrooms into efficiency apartments, if you're out building 600, 700, 800 square foot homes, what you're going to see is that you can do that really, really cheap. The reason those are not being done is not because they're not cheap, not because you can't do it in a cost-effective way, it's because there's no financing for it. You actually can't finance that in a decent way.